Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Anja, a podcasting mentor and strategist who helps solopreneurs turn their ideas into podcasts that actually works for their business and the lifestyle. With over 5 years of experience and 200 plus episodes as a host and co-host, she brings a practical, real world perspective on what it takes to start and sustain a podcast. Through her work, she focuses on making podcasting simple, sustainable, and aligned with how people actually live and work. Anya, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, Joy. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. So yes, I'm particularly excited about this one because it has to do with podcasting. I feel like I have a lot to learn from talking to you. All right. So before we, dive deep into what you do now, I'd like us to go back to your 20s, right? So before podcasting, what did your life and career look like in your 20s?
Well, in my 20s, I went to university. I studied languages, English and Italian in particular. This is actually an interesting question because I haven't spoken about this in a while. So it's like a bit nostalgic and
No.
painful, and I'm not sure how to feel about this. Okay, so I studied languages and I studied to become a translator. So my previous career was actually in the translation industry, and I enjoyed it. I love the people, but the industry, as you know, as many fields do nowadays, everything is shifting slowly but surely. And I've been drawn to podcasting for years anyway. And since I did my translation work, everything is kind of, when you look back at your history, we can all see that our skills are intertwined. So now I'm recording a podcast in my second language, which is English. So my translation skills and my communication skills I acquired throughout my previous career also come in handy. So nothing is wasted. So, but the majority of my 20s I spent in translation, and now I'm 32. So I've transitioned into podcasting a couple of years ago, like really actively.
Wow. Okay, so before you went into podcasting, right? You mentioned spending about 2 years overthinking before starting. So what was holding you back during that time?
Yeah, I assume your story is similar because most podcasters I talk to feel bad for not starting earlier and say, like, I've been procrastinating for at least a year, or if not longer. And that was my story as well. Um, most of my battles were mindset battles. Like, none of this is technically particularly difficult, but we need to face our own internal blockers that are stopping us from launching our shows. And once we do that, we're unstoppable. So consistency is a non-issue. The technical aspect is a non-issue. So that was stopping me. And I mentioned a few minutes ago, I mentioned that English is not my first language. So that was, I think, the number one blocker for me. Like, who is going to listen to a young woman sharing knowledge, sharing her expertise? Am I going to come across as credible and trustworthy since I'm doing this in my second language? And this is what I thought at the time. There are so many more experts um, doing stuff in their first language, in their native language, and that have, I don't know, 10 or 20 or 30 years of experience. So who am I to come on the podcasting scene? But the truth is, there is room for everyone. And I know that this sounds a bit cheesy and everyone says that, but that is the truth I firmly believe in.
There's room for everyone. Very good. All right. So, my story is quite unique, right? I was forced into podcasting.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I always wanted to, right? I enjoyed, talking with people. I enjoyed airing my views and, just connecting with people. But then my boss I worked for, he was like, Joy, go into podcasting. I know what I'm saying. I'm like, I know, right? But I was so slow. I didn't want to start. I was scared. First of all, I'm not going to lie. I was scared. I don't know how it was going to be. Like, I didn't think I was going to be able to connect with people. So I kept on making excuses, different excuses. He was like, why haven't you started? I said, oh, I have something going on with me. I was just making excuses. He actually sat me down and he said, you know what? You're opening your podcast today. He made me do
Wow.
it right in his presence. And now, I mean, I'm glad he did, right? And I'm glad I was able to overcome whatever syndrome I was facing at the time. So, yes, that was my
Yeah, so it's all internal, right? You weren't scared of the microphone you're going to get. You were like, "Wow, I'm going to put myself out there." And that's the scariest part. Once we
story.
overcome that, everything else is a piece of cake.
Exactly. So yes, tell me, right? Because I believe you're in the position now to actually give advice to younger adults, right? So for people in their 20s who are stuck in that thinking but not doing phase, which I was stuck in, right? What are they getting wrong?
This is one of my favorite things to talk about because it still feels kind of fresh in my memory, but distant enough that I can give advice to younger people. The number one thing I would suggest is, what do you have to lose? What is the
Hmm.
worst case scenario? And a tip I would give is, and this is a beautiful tip, no one cares as much as you do. No one cares about you or your podcast or the projects you're undertaking as much as you do, which is great news for beginners. And later on, when you gain confidence, when you get in the reps, you will get traction and you will get people coming to you, which is when you want attention. But at the beginning, no one but your parents and your closest friends will care as much as you do. So that is, I think, the click I had to make, and I just needed to get over myself. And I know many people listening just need to get that click as well, because all it
Hmm.
takes is one step. Just let's get over ourselves. No one cares.
Exactly. No one cares as much as you do, right? Okay, so sorry I have to keep on going back to my story, right? But
Of
yeah,
course.
also when I started, I was scared. Like, I don't have the perfect setup, so I don't think I'm gonna do a video recording. And my friend was
Mm.
like, nobody cares. They
Yep.
probably might not even watch your video. Nobody might even see it. So since no one is seeing it, why do you care? Just put it out there. So yeah, what you said is very valid. No one cares, right? Just do you.
And another piece of advice I have here, as you mentioned, not having a perfect background or setup, this is something that we can use to our advantage. My setup is my home setup, and it is as best as it can be right now. And I'm fine with that because Joy and I are sharing our knowledge, are exchanging experiences, and that is what people came for. And if someone sees an imperfect background, or if we stumble over our words, that is called being human. And that is our advantage nowadays, especially with the rise of AI, which is everywhere. People want people being human, and that is all you can ask for. So use everything you can think of that are your disadvantages, use them to your advantage.
All right. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Anya. This has been amazing. And I would like us to do a deep dive into what you're doing now. Right. So, what makes podcasting such a powerful tool for, solopreneurs specifically?
Yeah, I already mentioned this a minute ago, being human, connecting with people. There is no better medium I can think of than podcasting. And specifically, I focus on audio only podcasting because video is another aspect that can be extremely positive. But I can tell you, I can be transparent and open here. I feel safe with you. I feel the most open and myself when I'm sharing knowledge through audio. And I feel like the most authentic self when people can only hear my voice. Because video adds another component, which is okay, people are getting to know us better through video as well. But our voices are, I think, our most powerful tool. So for solopreneurs who do mostly one-to-one work and coaching and small group work, connecting with people is the most important thing. And when you have your own podcast where you talk about your expertise, where you share your knowledge through your voice, people are going to, and this is also a great thing, people are going to filter themselves out. So people who do not resonate with what you're saying or with your presentation style or with your voice or with your point of view are going to walk away. And those who love you will stick around. They will not get to know you, like you, and trust you. Know what they say. So there is nothing better, no better medium, in my opinion, than podcasting to connect with your listeners who will then become your future clients.
All right. Wow. Okay, so now we see. I mean, I like that we can see that podcasting brings. Most people think podcasting is just about talking, right, with people. But now we can see that through podcasting, you can actually grow your business. I mean, it's
Yes.
making waves, right? And I'm actually glad that podcasting is now such a very powerful tool, right? So yes, and you know, a lot of people, right? They start podcasts, but they don't stay consistent. So why do you think that happens?
There are many reasons this could happen, and I'm sure you've come up with your own excuses, and I've come up with mine. Like, I should give up tomorrow. None of this makes sense. We all have those days. But what helped me with my previous podcasts and with this one is to make it a non-negotiable. So this is on my to-do list every single week, and I find ways to make it work. I either repurpose old content, I think of content in advance, I batch record. But the most important thing is to make it a non-negotiable if it is related to your business. If we're talking about podcasting as a hobby, that's a completely different story. That's when you can play around and skip some weeks. But in this case, if you're taking it seriously, you're treating your podcast like a client call. You wouldn't bail on your clients ever unless there was an emergency, a family emergency. That is okay. But treat your podcast as you would treat your business because it is related to your business. That's one piece of advice. And the second one I mentioned already, but batch record. Find ways to create content in advance, not to make it a chore every single week so that you are scraping for content like the day before, 24 hours before you need to publish an episode. So think ahead and create a schedule so that it takes into account your family life or any of the obligations you have outside of your business and your podcast. So this is just like organization 101.
Okay. All right. So batch record, right? That is something, and make it part of your day-to-day life, right? Just make it a non-negotiable, right? So that's the way we can stay consistent. All right.
Do you
Thank you.
have any additional tips? Because you have been consistent. What's something that's on your mind? Like, how do you
Ah,
make this work?
okay. First of all, I feel like before you start a podcast, it should be mostly about what you love, right? If you love doing something, you won't bail out of it, right? So make sure your
Absolutely.
niche, whatever you decide to talk about, should be what you have interest in, right? That way, it makes it easier for you to want to stay consistent. So yeah, I can only say that not that you open a podcast for something you probably don't like. Make sure whatever you're doing is what you like and you have interest in. So yeah, that's that's my own tip, right?
That's actually the foundation of everything. That comes first, and everything I said comes later. So thank you
Oh,
for pointing that out.
oh thank you, Anya. Thank you. All right. So I'm curious, right, to what you're doing now, right? So first of all, I need to say this. Looking back, right, what would you do differently if you were to start podcasting again?
I would be more specific with my niche.
Mm,
I had a podcast before that was a general business podcast that it was a type of podcast that I enjoyed listening to before. So that was something I was drawn to before as a listener, as a podcast consumer. And then I wanted to have conversations with different experts. And that's something that really brought me joy, no pun intended. It really made me happy, and I enjoy learning from other experts. But you know what they say, if you want your podcast to fuel your business and vice versa, you need to find a niche, as annoying as that sounds, but you need to be known for that one thing. You need to be teaching that one core topic and be an expert at that and expand from there. So even those most famous podcasters we know and like today started with a niche, and then through time, they got the luxury, they deserve the luxury to go broad. And most of us first, while we are still unknown, go first broad, and then later on we realize, okay, I should have went niche. So that is the number one thing I would suggest to people who want to make their businesses, make their podcasts a part of their business.
All right. Okay. So it's important to, niche down, right? Instead of making it broad. Okay, but I feel like it's also important to let listeners know, right, that it's okay to start your podcast as like a broad kind of podcast, and then later on you niche down. Or do you think so?
Well, it depends on your goals. If you're teaching, if you're, for example, a web designer and you want to get clients that want to order websites from you and that want to have their websites made by you, in that case, they need to see you as the expert and not other people. But I would rather have people starting their podcasts in general terms, in broad terms, like you and I, rather than not doing anything at all, because those are, as I mentioned at the very start, those are all the skills that will serve you in the future. Communication skills, storytelling, presentation, and even those technical skills like scheduling, recording, editing. Those are all very important and will come in handy. As I said, none of it will go to waste. So I would rather you start something, anything now than nothing. So yeah, but if we're talking strictly about podcasting and business, then of course your listeners need to see you as the expert.
All right. Okay. Wow. Thank you so much for that insight. I think that was powerful, actually. And
Thank you.
yes, talking about, clients, right? Those who have decided that they want to use their podcast to grow their business. So how can someone move from just creating content to actually attracting clients through their podcast?
Yeah, we already touched on this when it comes to having interview versus solo episodes. So solo episodes are, of course, more powerful because your listeners are tuning in to learn from you. And what is also important is when it comes to recording solo episodes, you can and you should be strategic. So whenever I record my solo podcast episodes, I think about my CTA, my call to action in advance before I plan out the entire episode. So what is something I want to bring my listeners to do after listening to this episode? And that is how I tailor my episodes then. So for example, I have this 60-minute call, which is a paid way to work with me. So I think of, okay, I want my listeners to click on that link and book my paid call. What am I going to talk about? And then I reverse engineer the process and share an insight and teach them something. Of course, you always want to teach people something. You don't want to leave them hanging and tell them, I will tell you the rest in my 60-minute call. I will teach you something extremely valuable. You can get a win from the episode alone, even if we don't end up working together. But if you want my personalized advice tailored to your situation, if you want my accountability, if you want me to hold your hand and help you through the process, you can then book a paid call. But whether or not you do, you will gain insight and knowledge from this episode, which you can then apply for yourself. So those are really some practical things that I hope will be helpful to you and your audience.
All right. Okay. It was definitely helpful, actually. Conversations like this are often very important, especially for young adults, right? Trying to navigate their way, especially around podcasting and entrepreneurship. So yes, thank you so much for this. And it brings me to this one question, right? I'm curious, what are you currently focused on right now or building that, excites you?
Well, I'm building. This is actually a funny question because I have two young kids and
Oh.
I'm building this podcasting mentoring business. I've been building it for a couple of years. So this is actually both fun and a bit exhausting and exciting and challenging because I want to balance those things as perfectly as possible. There is no such thing as perfect, but I really want to be there for my kids like a present parent, and on the other side teach my clients how to do that, because I don't want my clients to be overworked and overwhelmed with their podcast. I want them to be as happy as I am leading mine, creating mine. So that is something I'm trying to inject into all of my client calls, into all of my episodes. You can do this and have a fulfilled and happy life and be there for your family. So that is actually, when I think about your question, I'm actually trying to build an empire over here. So let's check in on each other in a couple of years.
Exactly. Wow, I love that. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be checking back in. And I definitely know that you're gonna grow big, big, big. I know that for sure. I trust
Thank you.
what you're doing and I wish you the very best in life, right? So thank you so much, Anja.
Likewise.
This has been amazing. And yeah, this brings me to the final segment of my podcast. It's called the rapid fire segment.
Ooh, okay.
All right, so starting now. Hmm, audio or video?
Audio, always.
Okay,
This is an
consistency.
obvious one.
It's very obvious. Okay, consistency or creativity?
I can't pick both.
Oh, well, you
I,
can actually.
I will go with consistency, because when I do have a structure and when I work in certain, yeah, within a certain structure, I'm able to be creative. So yeah, consistency.
Okay, all right. Okay, solo episodes or interviews?
Solo. Wow, I already answered a lot of these.
Exactly. All right, and this one, what is one word for podcasting?
Freedom.
Okay, okay. And finally, what is one habit that keeps you productive?
How many words do I have?
What?
um, I will say kids,
Oh,
because I have
okay.
I have no choice.
Okay, that's actually quite understandable. Okay, and realistic too, right? It's important for
Yeah.
listeners to be very realistic when it comes to podcasting.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so Anya, thank you for this conversation. And yeah, where can listeners get to learn more about you, your work, and basically everything you do?
Thank you, Joy. This was such a pleasure, and I love chatting with you. It's like we've known each other for years. So thank you so much for being so kind and such a great host. And if you don't mind, I have a gift for you and your audience. I would like to share a free 5-lesson audio training. So this is not a PDF, this is not a checklist. This is something you listen the same way you're listening to our conversation right now. So you can pick it up at sayyestopodcasting.com/joy. So you have a special link for you and your audience. And when you grab it, it is free. You can pop in your headphones and listen to 5 audio lessons on how to launch your podcast as a solopreneur.
I want to shout, yay!
Yay!
Thank you so much, Anya. Wow. Oh my.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited, right? I'm excited. I can't wait to listen to it. Thank you so much, Anya. This has been
Thank you.
amazing. And to my listeners, thank you all for, tuning into Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone who you think might need this, and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes. Thank you, Anya. I'm looking forward to the link so that I could, listen to it. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
I will see you again for
All
sure.
right. All right. Do have a wonderful day. Bye.